So, little bit late, my bad. You might ask, what the fuck have I been doing? I have been running a Dungeons and Dragons 5th ed game called Richmond Fay. This is something that we've been running it for about a year, since probably St. Patrick's Day. Chuck Salmon, who you've seen on here in the startup, the web series, in several of the little bits and pieces that I've done film-wise, as well as DreadLore and a lot of those things. He started Richmond Fay as kind of an homage to what was going on. As a one-shot, well, I took hold of it and made it an entire campaign. We had like 10 players in it. And of course, it was a very simple idea that became a huge idea, that became a winding idea that people forgot about and all sorts of stuff. And recently, as in the past maybe 2 months, we've got a solidified group, and we've been running it at the new place, and with a couple new players, and it's been a lot of fun. So I made the executive decision today of, in that last scene, to say, okay, look, let's run this last scene. And that's why we're late today. So Ben, or Baad, is actually on his way. He had to do some stuff because we were running a little bit late. And we're going to start here in about, like, for real, start editing the book again here in about probably 10-15 minutes. Before that, I'm going to regale you with kind of what we've been doing. Let me move myself. Make myself a little bit bigger. Boom. There we go. It's a little bit more like I'm talking to you. Give me 10 seconds. Okay. So, let's talk about the future of DreadLore. So we're talking about game talk, tabletop RPGs and the like, running games, and DreadLore, of course. Typically, Game Talk, this channel, or I should say this program on Something Buncombe, has been about copy editing the DreadLore manual. So DreadLore tabletop game, as you guys know, it's an indie immersive narrative tabletop game. We call it Fantasy Punk. And we're copy editing the book in preparation for the Kickstarter campaign that's going to start tentatively early summer of 2021. So that's the goal. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that endeavor because I don't think I've explained it very clearly. And I'll continue to do this as we near that date. So basically what we're doing and what we've been really trying to do for a very long time, since the inception of DreadLore, is create a game, which we've done, and then have a tome, like a grimoire, if you will, a book of spells. It'll have really cool art. If you've seen the 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons books, just that kind of feel, that kind of art, I fell in love with it immediately. If you've read the Vampire the Masquerade books, I wanted a little bit more usable version of those books. That's what I'm picturing for the DreadLore book. Really cool art. Some of my art will be in it. Some of my buddy Sketch White, Cameron White's art will be in it. Tim Roberts, some of his will be in it. And then also, we want to pay a professional artist to design the entire feel for DreadLore. That's what the Kickstarter is mainly about. Formatting the book in a professional way, having it case bound, that means a hardback, designed, and then this really nice artwork with a really good feel. That's essentially what the Kickstarter is all. It's what it's going to be about. And I don't want to give a number right now, but it'll be, art is expensive. We're talking like $15,000+. Of course, shipping and handling on top of that. We'll have DreadLore t-shirts. The goal is to have dice, DreadLore dice. And we'll have some buttons and different swag and stuff. And the eventual idea is, assuming that this Kickstarter is funded, let me pick up that D4 that rolled a 2. Assuming it's funded, we'll have the tome, case bound. We'll have maybe different versions depending on if people gave more, a limited edition copy. If they gave less, maybe like a more black and white rough copy. Can be signed, whatever. But the goal, once the world opens back up, is to have at cons, so at these conventions like Gen Con, Dragon Con, SLC Con, etc., we want to go to these places, have a table or two, have the art, have the booth babes and the booth dudes. We're all going to be dressed up as characters. We're going to have the books. We're going to have the swag. And hopefully, if there's a bit of a community going on, some panels, run games, and have a whole thing. That's been the goal the entire time we've had DreadLore. So, that's what we're moving towards. And we're pushing the Instagram, we're pushing the Twitter. We've got the website up, and we're going to be doing, obviously, more game talk and copy editing as Ben and I go through the book. That said, right now we're on the Something Buncombe channel. Now, that is by and large for film projects that I'm doing, as well as a podcast. Very soon, meaning next week, we're going to switch over to the DreadLore YouTube. So this Game Talk, which goes on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, will actually be on the DreadLore YouTube channel. And that's DreadLore. You should find that. I've been porting some of these videos over there. You'll find the Arbiter's Blatherings over there. That's a bunch of game masters as well as players talking about what they think about games, not necessarily DreadLore. Little bits and pieces and whatnot. But this will actually move to DreadLore because what we're actually doing is making that Kickstarter campaign and trying to make it a little bit more. Let me see the channel really quick. Will you be moving existing videos onto the channel DreadLore? Yes. Gravel Switch, we will be moving, or I should say, I have been and will be moving these live streams, which the previous live streams, onto the DreadLore channel. And then after this week, after today, we're going to be doing the live stream on DreadLore. So it won't be on Something Buncombe any longer. It'll be on DreadLore itself. And I'll post what that is. If you search for DreadLore on YouTube, you should find it. Yeah. Okay. That'll be next week. So, for this week, it's going to be as normal. I apologize for being late. That is completely my fault. I was running a game, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons game, and it made sense to go an hour longer. So that's all on me that we're going a little bit late. I feel like you guys will forgive me for such. Here in 15, 16 minutes, Baad should be back, and we will continue copy editing Magicka. Until then, I'm going to regale you with what we've been doing, as well as drink this pre-prohibition style cocktail. It's delicious. And pink. Right. So, in talking a little bit about DreadLore and the crowdfunding campaign. So, I've got a Patreon going on. The Patreon is going to be adding to the DreadLore as well. Now, that's under something called 3 Replay Productions. That has to do with the film projects. That has to do with the shorts. It also has to do, as in short films, it also has to do with this endeavor, which is DreadLore. I will type it right now. just so you know. Now, some of you, Gravel Switch is definitely one of the senior developers, as in the third tier contributors to the Patreon. The money for that literally goes directly to DreadLore as well as the film projects. So, you know, that's pretty much as I'm going to talk about that. If you want to check it out, please do. It keeps you up to date on all the stuff we're doing. The major idea that I want to convey is Something Buncombe, which is what you're on right now, is pairing off into DreadLore as its own thing. And that will have, DreadLore will have the Kickstarter. Now, of course, I'm one of the progenitors of all of these things, so I have to do with both of them. But the live streams will be on DreadLore on the YouTube, and that's where you're going to go next. I will make plenty, possibly, every day this week. I'll post both on the Instagram for DreadLore as well as Something Buncombe, and the Twitter for DreadLore and Something Buncombe. This maneuver for the Game Talk. Something Buncombe itself, since you're on this channel, I'll talk about that a little bit. I'm going to refocus it more on the acting, film, podcast discussions side. And through December, I've been looking for people to have discussions. Some people that are actually doing stuff in the industry of film and acting, actors, directors, and teachers that are doing that. Maybe a little producers, especially during the times that we're in. So those discussions will still be going on, and that's really what Something Buncombe is going to be about, as well as film projects and web series and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to separate the two right now. Yeah, I think I've reiterated that enough times. Back to Game Talk, because that's why you guys have jumped on. So one of the ideas that Baad and I and the DreadLore team, also known as Team DreadLore, have been thinking about is how to promote this Kickstarter, how to make an actual community that's not just, hey, give us money for art and a book, but also how to grow something to where people actually play the game. What you do influences the game. Your characters are in the game. Your ideas are in the game, and it fleshes out that community. Essentially, we're trying to, kind of like an indie, independent game way, make a tiny little Numenera or a tiny little WotC, Wizards of the Coast. How do we do that? Well, we have a few ways. One is Discord. So if you're not on Discord and you would like to be, go get on it. It's really cool. It's a very cool platform. We have a server. It's called Dreadies. If you want to be on that, let us know. That's where we're promoting most, if not all, of our things. It's conversations with us. It's conversations with all the different players. People that we've met online, people we've met at different gatherings, at different cons, etc. And that's where we're actually doing the online games. It's on Discord. It's just, Discord is really good for it. And that's all I'll say about that. So we've really been putting a lot of time, I should say, Baad has been putting a lot of time into making the channel or the server really cool. He's got some bots in there, a bunch of really cool channels, categories and such. We have several games running. If you want to play in one of the DreadLore online games, jump on the Discord, and we're going to be just pushing that more and more and more and more. So there's the Discord over here. The other thing is the website. If you go to dreadlore.com, I made it. It's one of those old school styles, 1998 style websites. It's a .html. You can also contact us on there. You can find the book. You can find the character sheet. What I would like to happen is for people that I do not know, so your friends, people that might happen to see this, I would love for people to look at the book, grab a character sheet, give it a try. like actually play the game and say, this fucking sucks, or this is fucking awesome, whatever, and then use the little contact thing on the website and tell us why. That'd be awesome. Jump on the YouTube. Tell us why. Jump on the Discord. Tell us why. Talk about it. Help us create this thing. Because Ben and I created the initial game. We want to grow it into a community. That's really the idea. I would love to see people say, hey, I've got this really cool character, and we've done this with the story, and all of these things that I never even thought of, and it's all in DreadLore, the setting, manipulating it, changing it, developing it, and making it their own. That's what I dig. To that endeavor, I mean, I've written songs, I've written short stories, novellas, and all kinds of stuff, which will eventually be available. I'm going to say they're as good as I can make them. And I'm thinking of making those things available based on the perks of the actual Kickstarter campaign. We'll talk more about that as we go on. So Team DreadLore, you've got people that are actually making the Kickstarter happen. If you get on the Discord, you'll see that those are the DreadLore staff. So those are people that are actually pushing the Instagram, the Twitter, all the bits and pieces, trying to network and do what have you. Then you have contributors, which anyone watching this, you are considered a contributor right now. I'm pretty sure everyone watching it has contributed. You're in the book. Literally, your name is there. So eventually, and if you get on the Discord, you will get the tag, the role, as it's called, contributor, and that gives you certain perks. And eventually, as the Kickstarter goes forward and as we get bigger, that will have more perks associated with it. Well, trying to get my brain in order. Let me check the chat really quick. Okay, nobody's chatted. Beyond that, my plan, the initial idea, is each month, starting in December, which is now, to have someone who is not myself, because I'm usually the arbiter, the game master of DreadLore, someone who's not myself running a game on the Discord. And I'm thinking probably 4 to 6 players is what we're going with right now. If you want to be a part of that, please do. Try it out. It's just for a month. You're talking about 1 to 4 games. So essentially like 1 shots to 2 or 3 shots is what you're looking at. A very low commitment. And my goal is for, by March or April to have 2 or 3 different arbiters all running their own games and people to actually be doing this. That would be spectacular. I will be running a vampire game. Now, DreadLore has its own setting, okay? We've talked a little bit about it. I should say I have talked a little bit about it on any of the game talks where it's just me, and I've gone into the bestiary. I've talked a little bit about the setting. Post-apocalyptic world, that type of stuff. High fantasy punk is what we call it. That said, the game that I'm about to run is in a vampire setting that is actually heavily influenced by Vampire the Masquerade. It's essentially the same thing. There's a bit of a twist to it that I'm giving, but the rule system will be the DreadLore system. So if anybody wants to do that, it'd be great. It's going to be a bit of a long-standing game, like 1 or 2 games a month, and a lot of letters that are shared on the Discord. It's a very slow-paced, highly immersive game. It's a horror campaign, so you've got to actually be very, very serious about it if you want to do it. That's like high-level gaming, if you will. That's something that I am preparing to run. I'll start it probably January of 2021. That said, what's in the makings, each month there's going to be a very light-hearted 1, 2, 3 session game run by someone else in DreadLore, and it'll be very cool. All of this is going to be on the Discord, DreadLore Discord. All of it will be on the DreadLore YouTube. If you have not already, please go to Twitter, DreadLore System. Go to Instagram, DreadLore System. And if you want to email us, it's dreadloresystem@gmail.com. Okay. Scene. What do you all think about that? I'm going to get some water. I'll be right back. Okay. So, to talk a little bit more about what we're doing in the book. So one of the ideas for the Kickstarter campaign is to have a PDF which is a primer. Now, something that you all have been privy to is the actual book. Once we actually do the Kickstarter, we will close off the book, and all that will be provided is the PDF. It'll have some art in it. It'll look nice. That's the plan anyway. And it'll just be a primer. Super rules light, lots of setting, here and there art by myself, Tim Roberts, which is Bite Boy, what's his name? Ninja Tim or something like that. He's run a bunch of stuff, has been a longtime Arbiter. He's on the Arbiter's Blatherings. If you check out DreadLore in YouTube, you'll see the Arbiter's Blatherings. A bunch of art by Sketch White or Cameron White, an amazing artist. That'll all be in the PDF. And essentially what we're gonna be promoting with the Kickstarter is that PDF, which is the rules light version. You can take that, and it's the basic idea of what DreadLore is. You can take it, throw it into any setting you want, and use those mechanics. You could also take it and play DreadLore with it. Once the Kickstarter is actually funded and we have the tome out and all that good stuff, we'll release the document, which you guys have been privy to, but in an actual format, book format, with really, really good art. And that's really the selling point. It's just going to be awesome. At least it is in my mind, this idea. Okay, so that's what we've been working on thus far, as well as, let me move myself up here. Whee! I'm getting smaller. As well as a Kickstarter. That's not what you want. You want this guy. DreadLore System. Boom. I'm going to pull up the book really quick. So, in the last couple in the last couple episodes of Game Talk, Ben and I have been working through Magicka, Magical Expertise. Hey, there it is. Boom. The DreadLore book. If you want to follow with us, go to dreadlore.com. There's a link on the left-hand side, and it says the book. Boom. If you have a Gmail account, you'll actually pop up, and you can just click on our little circle, and it'll follow where we are. If not, you can follow us right here. So, let this load for a few minutes, or a few seconds. There it goes. I just upgraded my internet, by the way, to fiber, so we'll see how well it performs. You guys let me know if Metronet is all that it seems to be. Here in a minute, I'm going to have to let Ben in to the room because I got the door locked. So bear with me on that as well. Okay. And whenever that wants to work, it's going to work. Let me type this in the chat really quick. HTTPS, because we secure, baby. DreadLore.com. So that is the website you want to jump on. All right. So the last few sessions of our episodes of Game Talk, Ben and I have been talking about magical expertise. Now, it has been a bear. You'll notice that some of these places have ... ellipses. That's because the descriptions have to be filled out. This is stuff that we're not really doing on stream because it just takes a lot of thought time. It's stuff that we're going back and doing. And honestly, we're going to have to, anything that we create, we're going to have to reiterate. And, you know, as we keep on going down through the book, because we're going from start to finish, we'll have to go back and rename things and these sorts of things. But one of the major ideas that we've been talking about is fundamental game mechanics. And this is stuff that really, you know, inspires me, that I'm very interested in. Hopefully you are as well if you're watching Game Talk. A tabletop RPG, basically, there's 10,000 ways. 10,000. There's 10 ways to skin a cat. You can use all different kinds of dice. You can have a very heady mathematical game. You can also be very narrative, rules light. DreadLore is somewhere in the middle, if not leaning towards rules light. So we say you don't have to roll to win. What that means is, just as an example, it's the way that I run games. I ran a 4 or 5 hour session today of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. The first 4.5 hours, no combat. Now, if you know anything about D&D, it's all about combat. All the spells, or most of the spells, most of the powers, the way that you get experience points, which means the reward system, the way that you gain levels, the way you get more powerful and make your character move forward, get your character to advance by the rules is how you level up in D&D, is through combat. The first 4.5 hours, nothing. No combat. All role play. There's some roles here and there for diplomacies, for, hey, what do you want to do? You know, how do you want to do it? You know, using skills. But the entire session pretty much didn't have any combat until the very end, which is why we're late, because I did a combat at the very end. But it was a very narrative style combat. DreadLore is all about that. It's about this, you don't really need to roll anything. You don't need to throw down dice to win. What is winning? Winning is story. And that is baked into the rules of DreadLore. The way you advance, the way you get more powerful or expand your character's story has nothing to do with levels. There are no levels. It has nothing to do with power, really. It has to do with, do you accomplish your goals? Do you fail your goals? Because you still learn something. Your character, it's all about your character's story. You could have a very tragic story where you're failing all over the place, and epically so. You become more powerful by the game mechanics. It's really about, is it a cool story? That is something that I'm sure a lot of systems have done or tried to do. But I haven't come across many that do it as well as the game that Ben and I created. And that's the reason that we're pushing it forward, because we think it's a new idea. As such, some of these rules, if we're not careful when we're copy editing the book, some of the rules, it's really easy for us to lie back on basically derivative rule sets. Say, okay, well, for example, let's look at this guy. We're looking at Air and Flame Magicka. It's a style of Magicka. You're dealing with creating motion. That's the mentality. Remember, Magicka is all about art. So you're tapping into sort of like the true speak, the words of creation, but it's all about artistic endeavors, passion, these sorts of things, the colors of Magicka. One of the higher levels is Thrall's Thought, and you're casting a lightning bolt. You're harnessing the power, you're manifesting somehow through pulling energies a lightning bolt. Which, what is a lightning bolt? It's an eruption of energy, and it deals damage. So let's read it real quick. Let me scale it up a little bit so it's a little easier to read. Boom! That's awesome. So, the description is everything. Thrall's Thought. You gain the character trait, Lightning Bolt. So you write that down on your sheet. A sure sign of power is when a hothead, which is what a mage of air and flame is called. When a hothead learns to harness the ferocious energy of the lightning bolt, her Magicka deals an additional 1d10 damage when claiming the benefit of this discovery. Lightning takes 2 turns to summon and unleash as she builds static and concentrates, or 1 turn if a nearby source of electricity can be harnessed, as she is able to channel a wild bolt of nature's fury into one shocking blast, extending from her outstretched hand. It's pretty straightforward. You're casting a lightning bolt, and that's how you can use it in the game. But how else can you use it? What does it mean, Thrall's Thought? So you can get creative. This is art. Thrall's Thought. You're all in this situation. You're all talking. You're trying to convince someone. Maybe it's you're traveling and you get to a toll bridge and there's an opposing nation that has an army and they're controlling that bridge. So you're trying to get through, pay the toll, and not have a fight or whatever it is. Let's say the reason you're trying to do this is on the other side, in some far distant country, is a crescent-shaped cavern, or a chasm. And in it, the Holy Grail. If you can comment what movie I'm referencing, I'll give you 2 thumbs up. So, you're standing there. The person who's very diplomatic, because there are no bards in DreadLore. You can be a bard, but that's not a class, okay? You're playing that person who might be a troubadour, and you can call yourself a bard. A skald, if you will, is talking. Maybe you have the diplomat, someone who's of noble birth, talking to the guard as well. And you are a mage, specifically an air and flame mage. So, you got Thrall's Thought. It gives you lightning bolt. You can shoot a lightning bolt. But how can you use this? Can you use this in a way? It's still Magicka. It's still a character trait. Is there a way you can use this to influence the scene? Any major action you do influences the scene. It affects your environment. And that's what DreadLore is all about. You're in the dread. You're not throwing down dice. You're bidding character traits. Maybe you look at the Arbiter, the Game Master, and say, I want to inspire in this person, this guard, this recalcitrant, opposing nation guard who won't let us pass. I want to inspire something in them. I'm going to use Thrall's Thought, a lightning bolt in their mind. Not like that and they're microwaved. Not that. I want to show them a different way of thinking. Can I use Magicka to do that with air and flame? That's pretty bold. It's a pretty bold statement. Some arbiters might be like, well, you might fry his brain. Throw down. If you fail this roll, meaning if you get below the threshold of, let's say, 3 successes, you just microwave this dude's brain. He's done. But if you get above it, a lightning bolt, static, something more than just the physical occurs. And yeah, he actually sees you from a different perspective, sees you from a different culture. Thrall's thought. What does that mean? Why is it named that way? You've thought about this. You've investigated. And this person, kind of like in Star Trek Next Generation, like the Borg who's changed hue, if you know what I'm talking about, sees the world in a different way. Throw down. So you bid. Thrall's thought, well, you need a character trait. Lightning bolt. That's the character trait you bid, let's say. Boom, I bid lightning bolt, I throw down. I get my D10, which is my action die. What's your mind die? Let's say you're a wizard, so you have a D8 in it. Roll. Get 3 successes. Okay, you do this, this, and this. You get your successes. The guy, explosion of energy. The arbiter says, describe it. How do you use your magicka? What does it look like? What occurs in this guard's mind that makes him realize a different perspective? And that's on you. That's the immersion. You are your character. You're using Thrall's thought. It's not necessarily a spell. It's a discovery. One moment. Think on this. I described the scenario. We have a rogue Ben.
Heard about the toll bridge.
Oh yeah?
I was listening. Figured it might be helpful if I were listening in on what you all were talking about before.
Yeah, you can close that because that was for you. So what I described to them was an unlikely scenario, but is one that could happen.
Yeah.
Using Thrall's thought to evoke in a recalcitrant opposing nation's guard
Yeah.
a new perspective. Because it is in fact called Thrall's thought.
So it's like a shock to the senses.
Yep, shock to the senses. And if you fail the roll, you fry his brain. You microwave him. If you go to limbo, which means you tie it, maybe he's a little dumb afterwards.
No, but you don't scramble his eggs all the way.
His eggs are not scrambled.
That's good.
So that's the idea. That is the premise of DreadLore. The idea. Oh. Where have you been?
I had to take someone home.
So Gravel Switch says, we are Thrall. Explaining why videos will disappear. You should probably put up a short video on your Something Bunkum channel announcing that certain videos will move to DreadLore. Indeed. Yes.
That's a good idea. That is Daniel, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you saw what I already did, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Tell them what we've been doing.
We
Essentially,
essentially.
drink.
I would love some water. So we've been playing 5th edition from like 3 p.m. until 8 today. Yeah. I had to take one of the players back home, and I had to take my girlfriend home and drive immediately back here. So that's where I have been. But yeah, Will was running a 5th edition game that we've been playing off and on this year, that we refer to as like the Fae game. And we've started playing that on Sunday afternoons before this live stream. This session was going pretty well, and we ran it long, essentially, because people had the energy reserves to do it. I am tired. Let's see here. Who all do we have on here? Okay, I see Daniel and Megan. Cool. I appreciate you all joining in this evening for this, what's probably going to be a short stream. So, we had actually gotten through most of this. Actually, wait a minute. Ooh. So, the Mercitron, I remember that. That was good. Conan ritual, rephrase mechanics, got it. Okay. Half-breed's limb. So we are actually here. That is where we're at, is the scroll of the unnatural. Now, this stuff is pretty wild. So we've talked about controlling or manipulating motion and then controlling forces, which are sort of antithetical, right? There's generating heat and motion, or generating motion and therefore heat, and then stymieing that. The idea of manipulating different atomic forces and physics, and therefore potentially prohibiting motion. And then we also talked about the manipulation of ethos, or of vital energies, in biomancy or necromancy. The scroll of the unnatural are, in fact, unnatural circles of Magicka. The former three that we've already discussed, those are natural in the scroll of the natural. They are of the natural realm, or things that occur in nature that you can force or replicate through Magicka. This stuff is, these are things that would not occur without the intervention of I guess a clever mind. It's not necessarily limited to Magicka. Some theurgy that exists can do some pretty wild shit, but it's this Magicka that really drives its presence. So we've got three circles, just like before. You've got the circle of the void and the circle of phantasms, and then you have the circle of Deathmech. Now, Deathmech is not it's not very descriptive of what it is, right? It doesn't define itself, other than, oh, it has something to do with death. And that's, Deathmech is sort of a slang or colloquialism for what they refer to those practitioners as, right? So you've got the air and flame mages that sometimes are called hotheads. But when it comes to the circle of Deathmech, it's soul Magicka. And its practitioners are sometimes also called necromancers, because unless you practice these forms of Magicka, they're not really well understood, especially by non-mages. But the lay Zens of Craster, they don't get it, right? It's like the difference between being a lawyer and having never thought about court, right? It's wildly different perspectives, or, it's hyper-specialized. You need expertise to be able to swim in that pond. So they don't know the difference. But you've got soul Magicka, which is, those are for Deathmechs. It's the circle of Deathmech. And the other two are what we used to classify as arcane Magicka. So that's split into void and phantasms. The circle of the void, it's things like telekinesis and dealing with the inert. It's really telekinesis and teleportation. And when I say teleportation, I mean opening horrible wounds in reality, and then moving through, jumping into the wound, skirting along the edge of your own sanity and then popping back out a second portal. And then sometimes things from the outside come in through those holes in reality that you're creating. The circle of phantasms is illusions and enchantment, mind control, that sort of stuff. Again, these two circles can still be referred to as arcane magicka. The practitioners might be referred to as arcanists as a whole. And you can see just by that, thank you, by that brief description, why these circles might drive you insane. You're playing with fire here for these two things. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like wounding reality. So where we are here, that was in the wrong place. We got through these two. They probably cleaned it up a little bit, but we're actually here at the Scroll of the Unnatural. That's why we ran long last time. So
yeah.
I've talked about basically the dichotomy here, natural versus unnatural. And I described it basically that the Scroll of the Unnatural, those circles of Magicka deal with phenomena that are naturally occurring. They're going to happen regardless of what this crazy wizard is doing. The unnatural is, in fact, these are things that would not occur naturally. Like, it requires the intervention of a mage or a theurgist to produce these things. And then I talked about what they were.
Right.
So
Awesome.
yeah. So we can quote Lady Torrent and then hop into it.
We all, and all there is, shall return to the gloaming. That's terrifying. Lady Torrent Notrius, sub-Malik of the Arcade Guild. So, sub-Malik, the Malik is the head. Sub-Malik is like the VP.
Did you pull that from a specific language, or did you make that up?
I made it up.
It's cool.
No
I
idea.
like it. I do like it.
No idea where it came from.
I've always liked it.
I'm sure there's some analogy
yeah.
somewhere. Or analog, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the Arcade are it's actually so the Arcade. And this may be an issue. The Arcade are some of the old dwellers of Craster. They came from ages before when most games in this system are going to be played, and they, in some cases, set the groundwork for what eventually became the worship of the Octet. That should probably read Arcade.
Probably.
And it was an AYD, I think, originally.
We'll have to change it throughout the book if that is the case. As to the spellings are variable. Or they
Yeah.
have been in the past.
Yeah. So you've got the... That's fair. But we do need to have some sort of distinction between the Arcade and the Arcade. Because
Yep.
the Arcade are the people and the Arcade are the guild. So is that the Arcade? No, that's sub-Malik, so it has to be the Arcade.
So, Arcade.
The spelling doesn't matter to me as long as it's known.
How are we spelling it? Boom?
That's how I had it back in the day.
How about that?
Sure.
So Arcane is very different than Arcade, as he said. The Arcade are the people. The Arcane are the later...
Arcade.
Sorry, Arcade are the later guild members. And those that practice this are practicing the Arcane.
Yeah. And I know you love derivative stuff.
I do like derivative stuff.
Yeah. So just like in any society or civilization that is depicted in high fantasy or
They're
middle-
called Arcanists
Yeah.
because language.
Yeah. So well, we can put the emphasis on the first syllable and be like arcanists.
Yeah, either way. Do you want pizza? I'm gonna get.
No, I tore into that
Okay.
the whole game. So, just like in really any large, long-lasting civilization that you have in these fantasy settings, you have these different groups that more or less have a heavy hand in how the society is run. These guilds, right? And a lot of times you run into these thieves guilds or assassins guilds. Those are the big ones. We have, I think that in Craster, in our world, the one of the big empires in the world is where most of the games are going to take place, and it's on a continent called Daloon. The large empire on that continent has a capital city that's referred to as the Bonestone City, or Calgary, and it is run by a group of guilds that are more or less the different branches of government that have checks and balances over each other and control different aspects of the function and operation of the city. The arcade are essentially the crazy engineers and thurgists. They have a lot of insight into Magicka. I'd say if anyone were going to secretly be able to merge Magicka and Thurgy in the modern era in Craster, it would be that guild, the arcade, because they're insane and they don't really care about people. But yes, that is one of many guilds in the world, or specifically on Daloon. So that is where we're at. Getting into the Scroll of the Natural again. Yeah, gazers. Drudges. Known to educated mages as the arcane and to others as simply dangerous, the Scroll of the Unnatural deals with that which is contrary and aberrant, the natural order of the bound realms. Practicing the arcane is dangerous and taxing on one's mind and soul. Those who practice arcane magicka delve into any of the following three circles. Probably should have that.
Yeah.
The Void, Phantasms, and Deathmic.
Is it the first time we've seen this?
I think so.
Oh, following, sorry.
Yeah. Known commonly as arcanists, and more specifically known as gazers, apparitionists, and drudges, respectively, mages of this order are viewed leerily at best and held just above malfeasance at worst. Like I said before, you have the Circle of the Void, the Circle of Phantasms, and the Circle of Deathmic. We need an affinity for them, and we will add that later.
Yep.
So we'll start with the top one, which is the Circle of the Void, because it's the first one in the book. So that's what we're starting with.
Mm-hmm.
The Void is a general term that arcanists use to describe the slippery places that exist outside the natural realm. It's like the spaces between realms, the interstitial space. Most are never quite sure which place they perceive or slide through. It is simply elsewhere. That should probably be a hyphen.
Yep. Boom. Ha!
What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Hmm.
I'm waiting for you to add something.
There's something else. Oh, I see. Interstitial spaces, I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, okay. Describe the slippery places that exist outside the natural realm. And let's do this. Those are never quite sure which place they perceive or slide through. It is simply elsewhere. Arcanists, nice, collectively refer to these other places as the between. Particularly advanced arcanists sometimes discover attributes of other realms and even gain some proficiency
From
in tapping into them. I like that. In tapping into them. Mortals were never meant to tap into such unnatural places, as doing so eventually renders them utterly insane or worse. Arcanists either ignore the advice of their level-headed peers or decide to brave the chaos. Doing so renders rewards both exciting and powerful. We've got renders right here, so offers rewards? A horror, however, that is dark and very real looms ominously over even the most reckless arcanist. They know that someday they might peer too deeply, touch something too fearful, or worse, become entangled in the between, and that would be their story. Sensing the void in any way requires all who observe it through any of their senses, and whether they are the caster or not, to make a sanity roll. I mean, I get it, but the arbiter ultimately determines the threshold based off how mundane the Magicka.
That's it. I feel like that was like the Magicka. What?
Yeah.
He walked away. It was going strong there for a minute.
It was good. It's still good. We'll class it up a bit. Through any of their senses and whether they are the caster or not.
It'd be very cool if we could somehow... So, I've had this love relationship. Not love-hate. This enamoration.
Yeah?
I've been enamored with D&D 2nd Ed Planescape. And the idea of writing this from the perspective that you are like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or to the Galaxy. Like you are someone who is about to go into whatever this is, Magicka. And I like the idea of like when you get into the circle of the void, someone who's insane and having run-on sentences and sentences that just sort of drop in the middle. But how to do that in a way that actually makes sense. And really, flavor text is really how you do it. You know, you have real description and then flavor text. But if there were a way to write it to where it's like when you get into each level of the book, it kind of has that shift, that would be awesome.
In the Planescape books that I remember, because I have an equal fondness for the setting.
Right. Grants.
That's a good one.
Agreed.
Too.
Hey, Megan.
The way that they did it was they went back and forth. There were distinct parts of the books that were in character and then parts that were not.
Right.
And then they would interrupt or interject at times. And they had the benefit of things like sidebars and stuff. The other thing, though, is that Planescape wasn't a core rule book. It was a series of splats and supplemental books.
That's true. That's a
so
good point.
the core book had none of this.
That's something that I had not thought about.
Because it was just AD&D, and then Planescape was a setting that came after.
Right. It benefited from that. You already know how to play the game.
Yeah.
Here's a setting. You know, I had never thought about that until just now.
We can still kind of do that, but I do think that the flavor text at the beginnings of these things, we can build on more of that, and I think that might be the way we go. Or we could just have like an insert that's a story from someone in the world, like a quick 2-page thing.
Right. Let me stop this restarting with my computer.
Yeah,
Okay, go on.
let's not do that right now. So, like, we could put Miriam and her mark, like a piece of
Right.
it in there, and that would be cool. Right. So, sensing the void in any way requires all who observe it to make a sanity roll, and that's sensing the void. So, any sense. I don't think we need any of this. Like, it doesn't in any way. Like, right?
Yep.
I think this is like it's a clarification, but I don't know that it's necessary. The arbiter ultimately determines the threshold for the roll based off of how extreme the phenomenon.
We could just
Is-
say. I mean, the arbiter determines that no matter what. So erase the entire sentence. Boom. So they get an affinity just by being in the circle of the void. I wonder if that is just the affinity. Can you go down to phantasms and see if they have an affinity on phantasms? Okay, make that affinity circle of not circle.
That goes straight to the scroll.
Yeah. We can change it later if we want. Oh, choose one of the followings. Woo. Oh, you have to go down because presto is one.
No, that's
Oh,
the
is it?
discovery.
Okay, yeah.
Going away, going away. Hey, we did it.
We done it.
We did
Done.
it.
Choose one of the following: recklessness. Any mage who did you ever read this?
I have not.
Recklessness. Any mage who uses the circle of the void, which should be scroll of the unnatural,
Yeah.
risks insanity. Their inherent recklessness rears its head and grants them a modicum of protection and control over insanity. This trait, where am I? They can bid this trait to gain an upper hand on any sanity roll, whether they are making it or someone else is making it. Whether they or someone else is making it.
How about theirs or someone else's?
Yeah. Presto, slight forms of telekinesis akin to parlor tricks.
Honestly, I think with manipulation and everything, you get that with.
I agree. The idea is you get a choice, but you really don't need to. Although Presto does really, it nods ahead at prestidigitation, and also it says, oh, you have Presto, so there's a specific idea, a flavor of scroll of unnatural that you're getting. If we were to expand that description, it'd be a little bit better.
Yeah. I guess there's a part of me that, like, affinities are something unique that if you have the scroll or if you have the circle, then you have this.
Yep.
The idea of having an opportunity cost here feels weird, and that's why I don't like it. Of you have to pick one and then you don't get the other. Because people won't accept. Think about it. So 5th edition just released a book of optional rules in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, I think is what it's called. And it is, in some cases, just a clarification so that some pedantic people can have proof that it is okay to do it. You know?
Continue.
The idea is that, and where I'm going is that because WotC has done the market research for us and has said, yes, we need to have this because there's a large enough percentage of gamers out there that that exist that need their this sounds bad, so I'm going to change the way I was going to say it. I was going to say hand holding, but they need that reassurance that it is okay to read between the lines at times in these rules books, these rule books. You know, if we say choose one of these two affinities, what we really mean is, yeah, pick an affinity, and then you're allowed to make discoveries for your Magicka. So if you want both affinities, just advance into the second affinity as a discovery. Or just advance into the second affinity. But it doesn't explicitly say that, and it's counter to the mold. It breaks the mold. So I worry that people won't get that or accept it.
Right.
You know?
Well, let's just say you get this one. Arcanists make you, I mean, you go crazy when you do arcane magicka.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's go Circle of the Void. Oh, let me do this real quick. Hello! How are things in California? Also, so you know, because I don't know when you joined, because we started late, and that is my fault. We are going to move GameTalk to the DreadLore YouTube channel next week. So, this is the last time we're going to do something bunkum GameTalk. Instead, I'm going to do discussions and short films and that sort of stuff on something bunkum. But for Game Talk, and because of the Kickstarter we're going to run early summer 2021 and all kinds of stuff, we're really trying to promote the Twitter DreadLore system, Instagram DreadLore system, YouTube DreadLore, and then of course DreadLore.com.
I think Twitter is Discord DreadLore S.
No, it is DreadLore system. Oh, we changed it.
Oh.
Yeah. So, if you haven't, please subscribe or follow or whatever it's called on Twitter.
Yeah.
That'd help a ton, because I think we have 1 or 2 followers, and they're all my accounts. Okay. At the beginning.
Yeah,
Oh, you were at the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry. Pardon me, I did not see there. Okay. Circle of the Void.
So we've made it through all of this, and we are Akos.
Hakos.
So we don't have a 1B. We could make
We could.
this. Does it need to be level 5? Did you want to expand it?
No, I just put it there because I thought the warping hell was really cool, but I wasn't entirely certain what I meant.
It means that you can make your clothes clean and make food taste good.
Bagoo bagoo.
Good.
Bagoody. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Bagoody.
Make it a 1B. Prestidigitation, I think, is one of the most powerful cantrips in D&D. And it's just incredibly cool.
Unfortunately, I think that Minor Illusion may have it beat. But Presto is one of those things where even if I'm not playing a spellcaster, in 5th edition, I will take the Magic Initiate feat to get Prestidigitation, because it's just fun. Indeed. Yep, good. All right, let's talk about Echoes in the Void, Will.
Okay.
We've got Void Channels and Whispers.
Whispering. Now that gives you 2 character traits as opposed to 1B. We should take note. Gazing into the void is said to irreparably open one's mind to the chaos lying between the realms, aka my ex-girlfriend. One does not simply look into the void. It is a process that requires incredible stamina of mind, like my ex-girlfriend. At first, a void gazer is only able to hear whispers, echoing through the slipstream between the natural and other realms. That place of insanity and weird energies she calls void channels. I feel like that changed pronouns. And doesn't make any sense. Is it just the way that I
one
said it?
does not. So the only other pronoun you have is one.
One.
And you've got one and a.
How about she?
No, this
One?
is good.
One does not simply look into the void.
Yeah.
It is a process that requires incredible stamina of mind. At first, a void gazer is only able to hear whispers echoing through the slipstream between the natural and the other realms. That place of insanity and weird energies she calls void channels. That makes sense.
It's just the comma. That's the.
Which is that place?
It's a semicolon.
Okay. Well, that she calls void called void channels. It's still not a sentence. That place of insanity and weird energies called void channels.
It's a semicolon. It doesn't need to be a sentence.
It does.
Semicolons?
Yep. Semicolons, they are similar to a period. Granted, it's not telling you you're wrong. Don't pull it out. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm positive that
Let's
it does
ask
not
the
need
stream.
to be.
No. Let's ask the stream. Let's ask the peoples. Megan, is this correct to use a semicolon? Let's move on. We'll say it is for now. I don't think it is, but let's say it is, because it's not telling us it's wrong.
I know.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong.
Then again, Google also Google
Google
does not like the word comprise. It
Truth.
Refuses.
It hates it.
It hates it.
Okay, so we know what's going on here. You get 2 character traits, and really it should be whispers and void channels this way, because they're given that way.
Do you want to just do whispers?
That's a good question. If we make Presto, we need more description on it.
Yeah. Well, it could be that just Presto's cooler, and so you get 1.
Okay, let's expound on Presto, and then we'll see if
also,
Echoes gives you more.
Because it's a trait, does it need to have that hyphenization?
Sure, yeah. And down there too. Okay, an homage, a homage.
Homage to
To
the
the masters.
masters.
Slight forms of telekinesis akin to parlor tricks are just the beginning. So Presto has to be more than that.
Yeah, so let's look at what we really wanted to do. Presto is one of those things where if you are a close-up magician in the real world,
Yeah, you are a magician.
you can pull doves out of nowhere and do the flowers and your stick thing and pull coins out of behind people's ears, and it's sleight of hand tricks, weird tiny little manipulations of time space. Oh, you're writing everything that I say verbatim. So, what else can you do? You can't really change the temperature of shit. You theoretically could clean your clothes by moving dirt off of you. Like it's not really meant to be a combat thing, right? You could trick yourself into making think that food tastes better.
Sleight of hand tricks, weird and tiny manipulations of space-time, time-space. Should it be time-space or space-time? Doesn't matter. Time-space, because they're weird.
Time space. This is maybe something anecdotal. Time space feels like you're referring to one thing, and then space time is
Yep,
something else.
I agree.
Like space time continuum.
Yep.
Time
Oh.
space is that weird like fifth dimensional.
It's like the volume of that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we're not even thinking about.
Yeah.
So we need to explain it because we say
X.
weird and tiny manipulations of something no one understands.
You win, Will.
Really? Awesome.
Win what?
Oh, butterfly.
Win the semicolon thing?
Do I win the semicolon thing?
I don't buy it.
All right. So X. So slight forms of telekinesis akin to parlor tricks are just the beginning. Ergo, you can do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do it all. How about this? You are a magician. Sleight of hand tricks, weird and tiny manipulation of time space. That does what? Let's explain what we mean by that.
Do we want weird and tiny?
Yeah, it's weird and tiny. Little.
I mean, do we want to change how that's written? Do we want to say something more like personal scale or?
Well, what do we want it to do? What can an homage to the masters do?
Well, I mean, I think that is what we want it to do, but do we want better phrasing, or do you like weird and tiny?
So weird and tiny tells you it is weird, it's small in scale.
Yeah.
But what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
That. Let's write it out what we mean, and then we can correct it.
Mm-hmm.
Sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, weird and tiny manipulation of time space. What does that mean? But what is it? As an example. Because they have to deal with that. The players have to decide what that is, but we need to give them an example.
No,
so they know
I agree.
Okay.
I'm working through it.
Okay.
So we've set it up to be grandiose,
Yep.
right? Slight forms of telekinesis akin to parlor tricks. No. Just the beginning. You're a fucking magician. You've got all this stuff, right? So we need more. We need a bigger list based off of that
Yep.
setup, right? So we've got sleight of hand tricks, weird and tiny manipulations of time space that wow onlookers.
For a moment, you can make someone turn invisible. You can make the Statue of Liberty disappear. And you're using Magicka, so it is actually fucking disappeared. You can levitate. You can levitate objects. But just for a moment. That's what it is. You have command, a small modicum of command over the time space of objects. You can move them in time space. It's like an amalgamation of mage hand versus prestidigitation versus smoke and mirrors magic tricks.
I like that. You have a modicum of command over the you said the time space of
Objects.
small
Small.
objects like the Eiffel Tower.
Like the Eiffel Tower. Right now. Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, let's just say objects. The idea of someone with 1B, they're a void mage. They can say, "Oh, I made the Bone Stone City disappear."
All right, because it's not an affinity anymore. I keep thinking it's an affinity,
Right.
so I'm trying to bound it.
So they just say, "Boom, it's gone." But it's only gone for a moment, and it's because of smoke and mirrors. It's because for that moment they pulled a mentalist, and the people that are looking believe it's gone.
Right.
So
we
this
want to
is
say this.
Yep. You have a modicum of command over the time space of objects. What does that mean?
And yourself, allowing you to briefly levitate, alter their place in the time stream or position in space.
Now let's give an example.
Before they snap back?
Yeah. And
Um,
do they even notice?
right.
Is it real or not? Or is it like a rubber band? Boom, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's so slight that it's not even noticed.
Semi cookie. Be damaging due to the larger rebound when the effect ends. Let's see. This is powerful. Damaging due to the larger rebound when the effect ends. They called gazers. Is that the one? Is that what we decided? Yep. Ah. How does that read, guys? What do you think about that? Does that sound cool enough to you all to be a first level discovery? What do you think? I worry about it being extraordinarily powerful at high levels of manipulation for arcanists to be able to alter a timeline, however briefly. It sounds potentially devastating at high power level games. Um, so I do want to hear what you all feel about that. I agree. So in D&D, prestidigitation is exactly that. It is the kind of spell that if you can get creative, can be very powerful. It's meant to do things like sleight of hand tricks, street magic, close up magic with like cards and flowers and stuff, like what you would think of with like old school uh, street magic or magic with the cups and stuff. You can make yourself a little warm when it's chilly outside, or you can make your food or your tea taste better. You can create little lights or create temporarily fabricate tiny little objects that can fit in the palm of your hand before they disappear. These are little illusions and conjurings that are very temporary, but I mean they last up to like 3 hours, and you can maintain these like up to 3 of these effects at a time. So you can do really crazy things with them in context, but individually they're really small and they don't deal damage or anything, but they can end encounters. It's pretty wild. And yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Ooh.
So the limit on mass that you can manipulate has to do with your manipulation level, and how many successes you can generate. So if you're rocking small pitiful dice and little dinky instruments that you got as a freshman in mage college, then you're not going to have the ability to put the necessary stank on the roll to hide the Eiffel Tower for 5 seconds. And also likewise, if you don't have the appropriate level of manipulation, then it doesn't matter how many successes you get, you just can't do it. And that may be a little draconian compared to what actually happens, but more or less that's the idea. So it's just really just in case when you have the capacity to do it. It sounds scary. Read it, and when we're talking about it, it sounds cool, but I put it into words, and it's freaking me out.
All right. In homage to the masters, think about how it's been used. How arcane magic has been used. Slight forms of telekinesis akin to parlor tricks are just the beginning. So I'm thinking cards, sleight of hand, coins, that kind of thing. You are a magician. It should probably be you are more than a magician. You have a modicum of command over the time-space of objects and yourself, allowing you to briefly alter the place in the time stream or position in space before they snap back to their original position. Oh, their place. Allowing you to briefly alter their place in the time stream or position in space before they snap back into their original position. Okay.
Basically, it's I'm making something appear as though it's from nothing, and then it vanishes again, and it's because it's actually like on the table behind me.
Someone's being shot with a cannonball, you move them for a moment. Or you move the cannonball.
Yeah, that's wild.
More dramatic alterations can be damaging due to the larger rebound when the effect ends.
I'm thinking, like, if you try to move something or shift it really hard and it snaps back, like, especially at higher levels of manipulation, when spell effects, when magical effects can be a little more long-lasting. And it's like, oh, yes, I have moved my house across the way. And it's good for, a couple of weeks.
So,
and then it snaps back and the house is like...
That's a good point. Or I'm going to remove your heart. Boom! Like a rubber band. So, it's a great power.
It needs to say that you can't pull people's hearts out with it.
Yeah. The question is, this is like some cosmic shit, right? You're able to manipulate a space and time and pull it with your manipulation, which means if you have all the houses and such, you're like, I'm going to put your brain
In your butt.
in your butthole.
Because that's how you've been acting, like a fool.
And then, your butt brain.
You've had your head up your own ass this entire week.
Entire time.
And you know what? I'm going to fix it. Your physiology will match your behavior.
So, this needs to be fixed. It's good. It's an awesome power.
Hey, did you read the rest of it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then it goes directly into prestidigitation. Like, oh, yeah, you can clean your clothes. No problem.
I like the vase example.
All right.
You wanted an example.
All right. Gazers with this discovery can levitate objects, hide them, make them appear as though from nothing, remove dirt from their clothes, etc. One could even return a recently broken vase or vase to its undamaged past until it returns to the present and shatters once again. That's awesome.
It's like, no, vase is fine. You didn't hear anything, Mom.
Boom.
So walks out of there and shatters.
So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking
there needs to be an upper limit. We can just put a
check it out.
tag and that says these are meant to be parlor tricks. I like that you are a magician. The idea is that it's supposed to be evocative of what a real world magician is, right? It's not, you're not just a mage.
How about you are a real magician?
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
check this out. Oh, looks like there's really fucking high level shit you can do with this. So, for example, the warping hell.
Oh no!
How about that be the warping hell? You know, and your heart's in your butthole. Or in their butthole. That's cool. The warping hell. You have a modicum of command over the time-space of objects and yourself.
Do you want to describe to them the hell of like remembering the hip hops?
Oh my god.
Fix it!
Fix it now.
Zurich! Fix it! He's sitting watching his hands melt. He's like, I can't do magic.
Okay. Before we do that,
I'm falling off the boat.
before we do that, I think the warping hell is a beautiful place to put. You have a modicum of command over time space. That's pretty good.
It's like, how do we make Presto into the limitations that we've set for
Well,
Magicka? And it's like, it's time space shit. Ooh, that's bad.
I think this should be it. Check this out.
I like it. It sounds like the warping.
Snap back. Ooh, bow.
Beckle.
Backle.
Backle again.
The snap backle.
We're just keeping it.
Come
now,
on,
huh?
backle.
We're
Do
just
it.
keeping it.
God damn it! Son of a bitch. Snap back. Okay. We're going to keep that for the moment.
That's where the warping hell is. That's what it is now.
If you've ever wondered why the book is the way it is. All right. An homage to the masters. Slight forms of telekinesis akin to parlor tricks are just the beginning. You are a real magician. Gazers with this discovery can levitate objects, hide them, make them appear as though from nothing, remove dirt from their clothes, etc. One could even return a recently broken vase to its undamaged past until it returns to the present and shatters once again. Bam! Presto!
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
There's a sound. Presto! Now, I have a problem with that, and that is the very first sentence.
The upper limit to the...
Nope, the very first sentence of the entire paragraph.
Or just the beginning. Yeah.
So, we can say that. No, that one's fine. You just have to change the first sentence. We can't use parlor tricks and say we're just the beginning. By the way, it's only parlor tricks.
What if we just do this?
Boom! I love it. You're a real magician, goddammit. Gazers with this discovery can levitate objects, hide them, make them appear as though for nothing, remove dirt from their clothes. With a bang,
create lights and sounds.
Create lights and sounds. Although that's technically something else. Although, a little bit of overlay is fine, but Air and Flame does that as well.
Yeah, you can do it with Phantasms too, though.
This is not Phantasms.
I know, but it's arcane. We'll just have to blend it. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's all
One could
movement.
even return a recently broken vase to its undamaged past until it returns to the present past. One could even return a recently broken vase to its undamaged past. I'm trying to use Presto.
Oh, right. We need to have the...
I mean, it could be Parlor Tricks.
Could be.
I like that. Because that means it reinforces the idea of what it is. Wow. Parolar.
Parole tricks.
You get away. Boom. Dangerous with a person who wants to fuck with the game. Truth.
Oh.
All right. Hip hop.
Hip hop anonymous. You pop?
You pop. I pop.
Pop all the time. Which is my move. I was making old. I'm in my 30s joke.
Hip hop.
A Void
Hip-hop.
Gazer learns how to teleport herself or movable objects through the between with limited accuracy using hip hop. Sliding through the between reveals horrors which are almost immediately forgotten, but which nevertheless force a sanity roll. Failing her sanity roll causes an increased degree of randomness to where she or objects she is affecting might reappear. Regardless of her realm or her ranks in manipulation, a Void Gazer must touch any objects or creatures to affect them using hip hop. Ah!
Regardless of a manipulation, you gotta be touching.
Point blank we kept.
Yes, we did.
Okay. So, let's see here.
That sentence, failing her sanity roll, I believe is wrong. I think it should say, her failing her sanity roll. Or a mage failing her sanity roll.
Failing causes an increased degree. No, that works.
Does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I had that same.
Yeah.
There's a hitch in here somewhere. But which nevertheless forces sanity roll. Failing or sanity roll causes an increased degree of randomness to where she or object she is affecting might reappear in reality. See if that feels better to you now.
Failing her sanity roll causes an increased degree of randomness to where she might reappear in reality. That seems weird. Failing her sanity roll causes a mage an increased degree of randomness to where she might yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's why it doesn't make sense. Because the sentence is unclear. What are we trying to say there?
We're trying to say that they lose control of where the destination.
Let's say that.
Yeah.
A mage loses control of their destination if they fail their sanity roll. Something straight fucking forward.
Yeah. Let's put the consequence before that, and then
Yep.
it'll work. Because then we're doing it all in one clause.
Right.
Because it's she, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She can
She can,
lose control
but will she?
of the destination. Should we say destination or point of arrival?
Either one. What's the whole sentence you're looking at?
bear with me. She can lose control of the destination if she... This.
Yeah, it's fine. Yep.
Well, because
Or her point of arrival is fine. Either one is fine.
Well, I'm thinking about herself or the object she's moving and trying to work that in here.
The
And
point of arrival.
she can lose control of... Regardless of her ranks and manipulation. Okay, yeah, that works. It's good.
Yep. Teleportive attraction. That's a terrible name. Draw close is what it gives you. Some void gazers discover the ability to target movable objects or willing beings and cause them to draw close through the between to herself. Line of sight must be established with her target to draw close with any hope of accuracy, and the movement, if it be called that, must always travel towards the mage, although not necessarily in a straight line. If a void gazer has no line of sight with she target, she may still use teleportic attraction, but also incur a cumulative -2 penalty instead of the normal -1 penalty due to distance. I feel like that doesn't make any sense.
This is also I deprecated.
Yeah, that is totally old. Delete it. So you can pull something to you.
If we want them to be able to do it without line of sight, we can just say that you need more successes if you don't have line of sight.
Yep.
Do we want to just do that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, no, it kind of says that. Line of sight must be established with our target to draw close with any hope of accuracy. We don't need to use this twice.
Nope.
To shift them towards her with any hope of accuracy, and the movement, if it be called that. If it be called that.
If it's be called that,
then do it.
as thou must,
It
may,
yes, it do.
done,
It be like that
okay,
sometimes.
ergo.
Therefore, vis-a-vis the with any hope of the blah blah.
Teleportive attraction. Let's rename that.
Yeah, will you look up on your box, your magic phone box, apportation?
As in no portation?
Apport.
I have no phone box.
Apport.
It is gone.
All right, well, fix the if it be. I like if it be called that. If it be called that.
How about we
Must
just
always travel toward the mage.
how about we do this? The movement, if it be called that. If it shalt be called that. Go fuck yourself, Google.
And lo,
Lo,
it do be called that.
if it doth shalt and such be called that. In such as it may must always perigate. I just made that word up.
Paragate?
Towards the mage. If you speak Middle English, go fuck yourself. All right.
Ugh,
Dangerous with the person. Okay, you went for the beginning.
this is what I wanted.
Okay. Teleportaciones. How do you say teleportate in Spanish? Translate. Teleport. I want to do Spanish. What the? Teletransportarse.
Apportation is the branch of magic that deals with the transport of things, usually calling them from somewhere else. An apport in occultism is a material object that arrives suddenly and mysteriously through the powers of a medium, like in a seance.
Okay, we're calling it teletransportarse. Because it's a long fucking dumb word, but it's not dumb because it's actually a word. Oh,
was it?
Oops! I did it in the wrong place.
No.
It should be teleportation.
Well, first off, why don't we have one that's teleportation, and we have the other one that's apportation? Because apportation is a magical phenomenon. There's a basis for this. It is.
How do you spell it?
It's there's two P's. Two P's and then you're good. That's it.
Apportation. It doesn't like you at all.
I know,
Adaptation.
but it's good.
Let's look it up. Apportation. Proradia.
Prorrateo.
Prorrateo. Apportazione. Apportation. Apportation. It's paranormal. To apport. Look at these guys apporting. Logos Pap.
A fraudulent apportation medium.
The parapsychology of spiritualism and apport. That sounds like the good. Let's do it. Apportation, draw close.
Yeah. It is the summoning of physical objects, living or inanimate,
To thyself.
to the medium. So
Okay.
that's exactly what this is.
Teleportation.
You were right about the semicolon, by the way. You need
Was I?
two complete sentences. Yeah, that's what they said.
Should we call this skirt the veil or teleportation?
I think teleportation is great, and skirting the veil is a really good. I think the way it is great.
Riado.
Hold on. There was something I needed to add here. Line of sight LOS must be established for targets. Doing so without. It just needs to be explicitly said.
That's fine.
Is possible, but requires more.
Addition. Or more successes is fine. Fewer letters.
The movement, if it shall be called that, must always travel toward the mage, although not necessarily in a straight line.
Although it is not necessarily.
I honestly don't think we even need that.
Yeah, fuck it.
Toward the mage. Great,
Yeah.
cool. Does it need to be in a straight line? Well, it doesn't say it does.
Doesn't say it. Teleportation, skirt the veil. Do it.
A void gazer may skirt the veil in order to teleport themselves and a number of others equal to the mage's ranks and their mind aspect. Teleportation operate. I feel like there's I felt like I got left hanging.
Yeah.
I felt like there needs to be another.
And if they so choose, boom.
How about this? Fewer letters, but just get rid of the comma and then.
And yeah. Yep.
Teleportation operates accurately within a long distance, but becomes dicey over longer distances. As with all things void, anyone who experiences it must make a sanity roll or start their way down the loony road. Wow.
It's the Looney Road.
Does that run alongside Butthole Road?
The Butthole Road and the Looney Road, they're parallel, but on different planes.
This is based off population, so you don't
Agreed.
need it.
Kill it.
It is killed. I
Keep.
killed it with a button, not with fire.
All right. Axizerix Shift. It's like something he wears.
This is mean.
Some void gavers.
Hold on one second. Just 1 second.
What?
Dude, you guys.
Apportation. I know, we're silly.
What did we do?
Yeah, what did we do?
What? Yeah, you did beat me, but that's okay.
What haven't we done? Some void gazers have learned a most devious trick and are able to shove targets.
Are you making fun of us because of this? Because it is insensitive.
What do you mean it's insensitive? Are you a snowflake?
So, real quick, this is an aside.
We have no politics, by the way.
This is an aside. Twitch has been getting petitioned by people in the gaming community that are blind for a while now.
Really?
To have certain changes made to the platform to be more, it's the word I'm looking for, accessible to people with visual impairment. And instead of doing any of the things that these people have been asking for, what they did was get rid of the blind playthrough tag for streams. So a blind playthrough, sort of like sight reading in music, so a blind playthrough in gaming is essentially sight reading in music. You have never played the game before, you know nothing about it, you're going in blind, as in with no preconceived notions or forewarning about anything. And they got rid of that tag instead of doing the things that would have actually made the platform more accessible. And I find that weird. Because it doesn't strike me that, of course I'm not blind, so I don't know. But that didn't feel particularly ableist to me, the tag. Because it's in words and their importance and significance do change over time, but the word blind hasn't yet. There's basically two accepted definitions. One is a visual impairment, and the other one is basically ignorance. I don't know. What do you think? How does that? I'm curious to know what Megan thinks. That's why I'm bringing it up. But,
And Daniel.
Yeah.
Or Gravel, Switch, or whomever is on the stream.
Yeah, but
or watching this.
But yeah, it was bizarre to me that they had an opportunity to actually do something, and that wasn't on the list of requests.
Why do you think they chose that?
Because it was the easiest thing to do. It's what do you call it? Virtue signaling. It's virtue signaling.
What?
We did something for the blind people. We took off an ableist tag. And it's like,
what does ableist mean?
Ableist is basically something that, I don't know if it's inadvertent, but I think it could be. Basically, it's something that is against people with disabilities. It's either insensitive or discriminatory. It's the idea that you're operating under the assumption that people can do it. It is universally accessible, but yet it is not accessible to everyone because of their varying abilities.
When did this go down?
Like yesterday.
Oh wow!
It's brand new.
So this is really cool. I mean, it's not really, really cool that it happened, but it's really cool that it just happened. Well, yeah, what do you guys think?
One of the things that they were asking for was like bigger font, the ability to change the font and
I need
font,
a bigger font.
like not just the font size and the font and colors of Twitch chat, and then the actual colors of the platforms, brighter, bolder colors for people that just maybe colorblind, like things like that. And what they did was they got rid of a playthrough tag that. Now you have to go through it's just inconvenient to work around not being able to say it's a blind playthrough.
Okay, so I have two ideas. First is I've got the photophobia. I got the photophobia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I love that font Open Dyslexic.
Yeah.
Where it like has
I think so.
It's for dyslexic people. Although I am not dyslexic, it's a lot easier to read. I love that shit. And those accessibility features, like straight up, all of the accessibility features pretty much are on my phone except for the like read everything. People are more sensitive than the clitoris on a holy roller these days. I love Megan. She's my favorite person right now. Second idea that I have is the spirit of the blind walkthrough. Did it have anything to do with blind people?
No.
So it's not that they're virtue signaling. It's that they're like, hey, sorry, we didn't mean to say blind, as in big B blind. We meant, like, the other kind. Like, you're not actually blind because you're watching this.
So
You're not watching shit if you're blind.
So how I found out about it is one of my friends who is a streamer was responding to Twitch staff about it. And one of these Twitch employees made a post about, oh, I'm really glad that Twitch removed this tag because, and it's like, okay, well, first off, you work for Twitch, you're virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is basically like, hey, everyone, look, I did a thing, I'm virtuous. Fawn over me. That's virtue signaling.
How about this?
But I don't speak ASL, so I don't know what that was.
That's virtue signaling.
Oh, okay.
I said we like you and we like deaf and speaking people.
Yes. Yes. I'm a pepper grinder.
I said Hugh Coffee. No shit. This is like making out. Oops. Hugh Coffee. I fucked up.
Me kissing.
You kissing. Yeah, that was one of the things. I took one ASL class. It was awesome. It's really cool. Regardless, I fucked up. Okay. I have all the stuff set to dark mode for reals.
That's the other thing, Daniel. Yeah, blind studies. Like a double blind, a blind
Here's
study,
the question.
scientific studies.
Is that, if I say blind studies, double blind, am I offending people? Probably.
No.
Well, I mean, sure.
I mean, there are going to be people that take offense, but
take offense. But is it offensive to say a blind study? But as language changes, as all these things change, I don't give a flying fuck what people call it. Call it whatever you want. I think if you have to call it like 12 different words to get the point across, just call it a blind study.
Yeah. Well,
but some people who are in the blind community, or in the deaf community, or in the whatever community,
so far
might get perturbed.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was looking at it this afternoon, early.
Because I wasn't in that study.
Basically, before Emma got home from work, yeah. I was looking at it, and the response was essentially, "Hey, so you're virtue signaling, and you didn't respond to the things that would have made the platform better for us. Instead, you did this thing." And then people actually brought up, just like Daniel said, blind and double blind studies in the scientific community, like. The definition of blind, that second definition of essentially, just to put it in a word, ignorance, being in the dark about a thing, the withheld information or what have you, that is still commonplace, and the members of the blind community, it feels oddly official, but basically the blind people on Twitter that were involved in the conversation seem to be saying that they weren't bothered by.
Oh, they were not bothered.
Not bothered by it. It was the other people saying that it's that no this is good because that's ableist language.
So you get into, and it is ableist language from their perspective, of course, right? But you get into this idea of semantics. People can argue about anything they want.
Yeah.
And there is some ground to be made from that. But it doesn't make you a devil, right? Just because someone starts, like, if you say something or do something, I think the intent actually does matter.
Absolutely.
I know there's the whole the path to hell is paved with good intentions, but your intentions do fucking matter.
They really do.
Like, if you're saying a double blind test, and you have a blind person has nothing to do with that,
Yeah.
right? And and if someone says, "Oh, I'm gonna pop that metaphor," and say that, "Well, you're a Nazi because you said that," well, go fuck yourself. You can go fuck yourself. Let's continue.
I give Twitch a hard time just because they're in a lot of they're getting a lot of hate because of the way they're handling the is it DMCA?
I don't know what DMCA means.
The music, copyright music claims. I think it's DMCA strikes.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's like DMCA or DCAA or something like that. Anyway, the copyright music claims against streamers on Twitch.
Yeah. You'd mentioned this before.
They're not getting a lot of good response to their feedback to streamers. They're like, hey, we're getting a lot of flags and strikes. The music industry is coming at us again, and instead of doing anything about it, what we recommend you do is play video games without sound on.
Right.
and so it's laziness, because that affects everything about their business and the people that are operating through their business. And so when you get a community lobbying for certain changes to make it more accessible, and they disregard all of that and then take this low-hanging fruit that no one had issue with, that's what I'm bringing up. Because, if it's actually problematic, then I'm not blind, so I don't really feel like my voice should be very loud in this. It really comes down to the community that's affected, right? But
you still have a brain, and the fact of the matter is, unless someone is actually actively attacking someone, or they're through their actions inadvertently are attacking someone, it's people doing exactly what Megan said. It's people taking issue because they can simply point out something they thought of, which 100,000 people have thought of. Fact of the matter is, it comes down to business. For example, if you guys were like, hey, we would really like you all to not talk about Dungeons and Dragons, then we would stop talking about D&D.
Yeah.
If you said, hey, could you curb the political stuff, I would put it to another live stream, right? So for Twitch, if they care about their blind community, they should do stuff for them. And if the blind community is like, hey, we're cool, then I think they're doing a perfectly fine job. And people can virtue signal, or whatever you want to call it, the live long day and make themselves feel awesome. Let's read some of this stuff. Long and short of it, people pandering to Karens and people who have sand in their various holes. Agreed.
Yep.
Gravel Switch says, no, blinded studies use the word blind in a different but still appropriate manner. Agreed.
Yep.
Megan says, yeah, they're just playing at doing good while they actually just screw people over. Grammar Nazi, ha. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we are. All right. Let's finish out Circle of the Void, and we will be done for the eve.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No,
tangent.
it's great. Axis shift. Shove.
Indeed. The shove. Sorry, this brings back memories of games where this has occurred. Really, some of the most polarizing and memorable experiences in the world of Craster for me have dealt with Arcanists in the party.
Yep.
And the fallout of their actions.
Yep. That's 100%.
Oh man,
We've had all kinds of bitches.
There was a
play
game.
Arcanists.
Yeah, me too. But we had one game where we had two Arcanists in the party at the same time, and one of them had a big old buzzsaw on a
beautiful.
stick.
Yeah.
And that's my fault. I made that. But there's holes in the sky with teeth, tentacles coming out, picking people up and pulling them into the void, and we're all going insane.
Everyone going insane. All the NPCs.
We get
insane.
back and they're just cooking eggs forever.
Scrambled eggs. All right.
Oh, Alfred Engels.
Some void gazers.
Have learned a most devious trick and are able to shove targets, willing or otherwise, into the between. If their foe is unwilling and they gain an opposed reaction, then they gain... Well, I can go away. Upon being shoved, the foe experiences a forced hip hop, as well as the requisite sanity roll for glimpsing the void. Yes. The Void Gazer has variable control over where the foe appears. The mage may designate a minimum distance from themselves and in a general direction. Doing so incurs the same distance penalties as Hip Hop would. A particularly unlucky target simply never reappears in the natural. Okay. This can go away.
So you push someone into the other
You
realm.
push them out with a capital O.
And they might come back. But it's kind of funny.
We should put that. You push them out.
You push them out. Shove targets out.
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 It looks so fancy.
Keklethial's temptation.
The minimum distance. This does not need to be capitalized. It's
No
not
big
really-
old D.
No big D for that. And we don't need this. Because it's either successful or not shoved.
Yep.
Yep. So, you get Sojourn. This is basically like hip hop, although it's a one-way ticket. It's like this, but intentional.
Yeah.
So, a Void Gazer may choose to remain in the between instead of immediately returning to the natural, but not without intense mental strain. For each round spent within the between, they must make a sanity roll at a scaling threshold or lose themselves
There.
in the between. Or lose their mind? Themselves. The singular, the third person, what is that? What parts of speech is that?
That is the third person singular or plural, and it is contested as to whether themself or themselves is correct. They are both correct. Megan,
No.
if you would. The thing is, you can say they and say themselves. But if you're saying they in our day and age, you could mean themselves.
I know. It's so, and I'm not arguing correctitude or anything. It just feels weird. It feels.
It's not really a word,
abrupt.
I don't believe.
It feels abrupt. It solves a problem in the English structure,
Mm-hmm.
right? For using the third person as a singular pronoun, themself, or lose themself. It just feels alien to say.
For each round spent within the between, they must make a sanity roll at a scaling threshold or lose themselves. Yeah, it's because we're using they as a singular form. That's why it's odd.
Yeah, themself.
It's because we're talking about the Void Gazer as a they.
Yeah.
And when you say themself, I mean, I can think of maybe a use case scenario where that makes sense. As in they all, if I'm grouping them into one group,
Yeah.
but still it should be themselves.
I mean, this is a use case for it. It's just I don't like it for the same reason that I don't like glower. I'd prefer
Agreed.
if it were pronounced glower.
Well, why don't we just say themselves? And I think this should be there. Because we've already talked about in the
They
between.
lose themselves there, indeed.
And they incur a -1 penalty, effectively negating one of the successes. We should probably just use one of those. to their inevitable sanity roll upon their return.
Yeah.
So that should be an entire sentence unto itself.
I don't think it needs it because the threshold goes up while they're in there. So whatever they come
that's
out at,
re-explaining. Okay.
This is doubling down on it. It's like the threshold goes up, and you take a scaling penalty when you get back. Well, that's just too much.
Yeah, agreed.
Like that is too harsh. People just won't do it.
They must make. How about this?
We actually need to use the.
They must also make. For each round spent within the between. Wow, I fucked that up.
Yeah, let me just undo that because it worked.
Just undo it.
It worked fine.
Make it not happen. There you go.
We do need sojourn. They may choose to sojourn.
Correct.
Sojourn. Let's talk about losing the stars and banishment.
Right quick, let me check. You use they in your terms, though, so it could become confusing. Synonym roles like grammar used to make. It's really just not necessary to make it an issue. Agreed.
Yeah. All right. It is said that most every Zen soul is tied
to somewhere.
Some mystics even believe that objects are tied
to particular regions.
Exactly where that somewhere is located remains a mystery for most, but the theories of Magicka that explain this process are blurry at best, although some void gazers are still able to banish a target and return it to its origin. The process requires great concentration
Concentraciones.
on their behalf, as the mage must emotionally tap into that soul sliver. They're not tapping into it rationally. They're doing it emotionally. So they're tapping into the soul sliver, which ties everything to its anchor. And the target most likely resists.
Boom. On a critical failure, the mage is likely banished.
Instead.
Banished instead.
Beings of power, horrors, Oxford, comma, often called a serial comma now, since apparently the Oxford, the university, doesn't really enforce using it.
Huh.
So it's a serial comma.
Well.
Yeah, I learned that like a couple weeks ago. Beings of power, horrors, and the like are whisked to their origins, while mortals can be dragged through endless places beyond the realms and back again.
All depending on how their soul slivers are entangled in the weave of love.
In the weave of love.
So, some of this sounds stupid.
This feels like a mess.
Some of it's cool, but some of it sounds stupid.
The theories of Magicka that explain this process are blurry at best, although some void gazers are still able to banish a target. Why don't we just say, nevertheless, void gazers are still able to banish target? Banish target. Because editors charge by the word sometimes. And return it to its origin.
Origins? Origin. The
It's
processes
only going to go to one place.
requires great concentration on the void gazer's behalf, as the mage must emotionally tap into the soul sliver, which ties everything to its anchor. Into that soul sliver, which ties everything to its anchor.
So why does it need to involve emotion? Where does that come into this? Because it could be cool.
It's a completely. It doesn't. I think it's that they have to be like, I feel it.
I see. Thanks for acting that out. And scene. The mage,
Okay.
the mage must tap into that soul sliver which ties everything to its anchor. So is the anchor the origin or is the anchor the body?
Let's decide.
Why don't we just say that whatever realm it's from, that's where it goes.
I like the idea of the description saying what the mage has to do.
Fair.
Although emotionally tapping into the soul sliver doesn't make any sense. No one knows. Oh shit! This chair is going down.
Oh no!
No one knows what the fuck I mean.
I'm sure
Erase
someone
it,
has
make it
a-
simple.
has a-
They in your terms.
it's
Okay.
old.
Okay. So
Help! The process requires great
great concentration. Just make it concentration. Make concentration. Which is great.
Great concentration
As the mage must body and mind.
body check them out the door.
Must use body and soul
Out the door.
at the door.
Don't
As the mage
run
must
away, it's so
turn themselves inside out. Okay. The idea is to banish someone.
They have to. The mage must lay a golden egg.
Must lay a golden egg. Why is this a big deal? Because you banish someone, and it is like the end of Stranger Things. If you're not careful, you will be lost yourself.
Why don't we just go old school and talk about like a spiritual resonance or something? You're concentrating to find that resonance, like the tuning forks and shit.
Do it. Erase the shit, make the shit. Make shit.
The harmonic resonance. Must harmonize with the spiritual resonance
Of their target.
of their target and their target.
Origin. Well, there'd be multiple targets.
It would be. I was thinking about that as I mean, I guess it's possible.
Destination. Origin.
Origin. Realm
Realm.
of origin.
Ooh. Okay. On a critical failure. Whoop. I need to get a mouse. I'm actually borrowing my girlfriend's mouse.
On a critical failure, the mage is likely banished instead, and it is bad. It is a bad time.
Yep, and it is a bad time.
Do we actually want to leave that?
I like this. A bad time. Wait, no. And has a bad time of it. Beings of power, horrors, and the like, horrors, and the like are whisked to their origins, to their natural origins, whilst mortals can be dragged through the endless places beyond the realms and back again, all depending on how their soul slivers are entangled. I know what that's trying to say. That's trying to say if you're immortal, so if you're just a being of power, you're like, huzzah, and you go wherever you came from. If you're immortal, you're like, you know, puny god, boosh, 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 because you make crazy decisions that are good and bad. And you probably go insane.
ease this process?
Sure.
Like, this sounds so out there that I feel like that may be helpful.
How about this? Because it's a different idea.
Okay. On a critical failure, the mage is likely banished instead and has a bad time of it. Mortals can be dragged through endless places beyond the realms and back again, all depending on how they're...
Yeah, it needs to be reworded. All depending on how their souls are entangled.
We don't need to
No.
fucking justify that.
No, truth. The warping hell. Snap back. You have a modicum of command over the time space of objects and yourself, allowing you to briefly alter the place in a time stream or position in space before they snap back to their original position. More dramatic alterations can be damaging due to the larger rebound when the effect ends. Should it be snap back? Yep.
Yep.
It's great.
Yeah.
That in and of itself.
I think it's good.
The entropic shadow. The
We're tired.
entropic shadow. What the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know. I didn't name it.
A shadow of entropy. For fuck. I don't know what I was talking about.
I was getting ready to ask you that as well, Ben. What?
What were you gonna ask us?
Yeah.
We're about 8 seconds behind, so.
I see the ancient one, Palm, checking Doctor Strange out of his body. Indeed.
Yeah.
That is more like Constantine breaking back from hell by crushing holy water on himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also.
Mm-hmm. Those are both really good.
So entropic shadow, to be completely fucking honest, I do not remember what that was. Although it's a cool name, and that's probably why it's there.
Why isn't it like... So think about it, and if the veil is an actual veil, think of it like a billowing curtain in the sky, right? That is separating this plane of existence from everything else.
Which is a metaphor for we only see part of... We only experience one perspective.
Yeah, it's like the Soviet Iron Curtain on reality. So if you can imagine, like, the sun coming in, hitting the curtains, the shadow, the great dark flitting across that surface, you're like, hey, what's that? That's the entropic shadow. And it is... You remember back in one of the very first campaigns we played, it was a vampire campaign, I'm pretty sure, and the reason why Spear City is so banged up is because someone brought in, like, a Cthulhu monster.
Yeah.
You want that to be entropic shadow?
A Cthulhu monster?
Well, not Cthulhu, but the idea of, like, the conscious act of bringing something partway in to wreak havoc. It was so cinematic when they were doing it on a small scale. I mean, like, in terms of someone who has gone off the rails. Oh no.
All right. I'll be right back. Do you want some Vasa?
No, I'll be all right.
Everyone is screaming, "Oh no!" cursing the powers, and gnashing
That's right.
their teeth. They gaze into the yawning abyss above them as the Arcanist makes the conscious decision to wrench a fragment of the sentient ineffable into the natural realm. Dicks.
That's
No?
right. That's right. Billowing dicks in the sky. Just.
Ah!
Oh,
Not
God.
again! Anyway.
You ever feel like life is just fucking you?
You stare into the void and it stares back at you and then smiles.
Yeah.
Dicks. Like kites. Okay.
Nighthawker.
Night Hulka. Hulka.
Indeed, yes. The plane or the physical body being the anchor. Yeah, I'm glad we clarified that.
Let's pop over to the thing. Everyone is screaming, "Oh no," cursing the powers and gnashing their teeth. They gaze into the yawning abyss above them as the Arcanist. Yawning abyss above them as the Arcanist makes the conscious decision to wrench a fragment of the sentient ineffable.
Sentient ineffable, I wasn't sure how you were going to feel about it.
I like it. Sentient ineffable into the natural realm.
That's horrifying.
That is horrifying. However, this is pretty finite. This happens, and then, so we need some form of control, as in, maybe the Arcanist sees the sentient ineffable, thins the veil, and has some modicum, I don't want to use the word, of control over its power, and then can do something with it. Because right now, this is the I do entropic shadow. That's all it is.
Run away! It's
That's-
like call it and then they bounce
Which
because
this
they
is
can
awesome.
teleport.
This is awesome. And they peace. So we need to give this some direction. Because this is just raw, unlimited power!
But it's not mine!
Oh, crazy! And they peace.
Yeah.
This needs a direction. What do they
well-
gain? They must steal from this?
I wrote
Okay.
that and had to step back.
I love
That's
it.
what that was. I was like, I need Will to read this. 'Cause
Okay. Everyone is screaming
oh no!
in your... screaming. How about this?
We can just add to it. What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to say, the Arcanist makes the conscious decision to wrench a fragment of the ineffable into the natural realm.
Okay. So we just add on.
Well, I'm just going to put this here, and then we can delete it. I'm not
I
destroying
see.
anything. Just to gather an idea.
Oh, you want to put it before.
So let's say this is something you do. Now what happens? Because the flavor text is amazing, but what is the Arcanist actually getting from this other than nuke?
Yeah. We usually put the flavor text first, though.
This is just as an exercise to know what we're trying to do.
Okay.
That's it.
So I guess they're doing it for a purpose, right? So they're bringing it in to enact their will.
Yep.
And it should have long-standing ramifications on that geographical area.
How about for a moment, nothing makes sense, they gain narrative control. That's Magicka. I mean, what Magicka is I want this to happen, and it happens within these bounds. So, the shadow of this entropic being, meaning the being, so the beings, the abstract beings of the void, they're chaos beings. It's all about entropy, meaning everything is chaos, it's all going to zero.
It's just essentially, it is a thing that, regardless of what it is outside of this reality, and therefore reality does not accept it.
You know, be interesting. This is a bit of World of Darkness, but what if this capstone-ish type power here, this discovery, is personal? I mean, granted, with manipulation you can extend it however you want, but it's an entropic shadow. This idea of it's actually not an attack, it's not an abjuration. Yeah, abjuration. It's a protection type thing. So in Masquerade, one of the things that a character, a La Sombra, can do is they can become a shadow monster, and nothing can affect them other than sunlight and fire.
Mm.
And they can't really physically affect things. I think they can technically feed, and they can use mind powers. But the idea of you're kind of invincible. I wonder if it'd be interesting to say you are now part, like you kind of like become part of that entropic shadow, where wherever you go, maybe whatever you touch, it deals a damage, but like anything that like is coming at you is halved or decays or is thrown into chaos and into extreme entropy. And in that way, you're basically protected. Like you have an entropic shield, basically. But you become this quasi-embodiment, half in the veil, half out of the veil. And it's a roller coaster ride, so everybody's going insane. But it's that you can extend it to your party if you're powerful enough. And be like, okay, we're going to walk through these walls, guys. And you like phase. And you're kind of like half in, half out.
That's
you
cool.
take half damage, everything's halved, kind of. That's just as an idea. But like you can do a lot of shit because you're kind of half there.
So
it's much more utilitarian than it is hat, right?
And
you could use it to be like hat, like oh something's in this box. Entropic shadow, I pull it out of the box. I pull it out, and it's changed slightly, but I do get it.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's just really, really fucking cool. Like, you can put your hand in someone's chest and crush their heart, sure, with this. Why not?
¿Por qué no los dos? It's Magicka, so the effect is they're bringing something into this world, and then the question becomes, what do they do with it? So it could just be you bring it in and unleash it. And
yes.
Or you bring it in and you bind it to yourself temporarily.
I like that idea of the shadow, though. The idea that you're not, right? You know, it's like you're bringing in some of the chaos, or you're affecting yourself or something with that chaos. As in, two things being in the same place, or whatever.
Right.
So, go either. I need water. Oh, I have the hiccups. Why? Why?
Are you okay with it doing like an either-or thing?
Yep.
Okay, so the gazer can unleash this presence upon their hapless foes, causing calamity and tainting the area with lingering entropy. Or they can temporarily bind this fragment to themselves and or their companions.
What does it do?
So in terms of the nuke, I guess it's going to cross into the territory of destruction and just do like an extra damage or something. Right?
So I think
But
it should not be a nuke. I think it should actually be the opposite. I think it should be incredibly utilitarian as a capstone because it's not really. Goddamn, go up. The Warping Hell is the capstone. Entropic Shadow, if they're
what I mean
clever.
is this is a summoning. It's a conjuration, right? So it becomes a question of the utility that a conjuring provides. You can bind the fragment to yourself, and then or what else could you do with it? The binding to yourself is the hairy part, so I'm dealing with that last because it's super cool, and I want to illustrate to the audience the various things the various effects they could bring out in themselves, like walking through walls and your projectiles decaying.
I think those are two separate powers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think if
Well,
you
that's
want,
why I asked you
yeah.
over there.
Goddamn. I think if you have a nuke, make it a nuke. I think if it's you're literally phasing in and out, you become an embodiment of chaos. That's a power in and of itself. So that way, it just solves two rocks with one bird.
Although the chaos thing would actually be more destruction, like embodiment of chaos. I like the idea that you're bringing in some being from outside of reality, and that causing chaotic or entropic effects, entropy, or damaging reality in some way. But
Okay, so real quick, I agree with you, or I agree with the sentiment.
we can make a 5C.
Yes, we can, but I do like the idea. Well, we're eventually going to have to get. God, I hate hiccups. Let me pop down here. Let me do this really quick. Embodiment of chaos. You become this shit. You can phase. You can interrupt the natural. I don't give a shit, etc. I don't care. We will get here one day. The void. And add. Okay. So that's a part of destruction. It's chaos, embodiment of chaos. I hate it.
So, here's what I think.
What does this do?
Entropic Shadow is. Entropic Shadow is a summoning.
Yep.
You're bringing what you may consider a magnificent presence into reality, right? Yeah, you're bringing in the nothing.
Ooh, you're bringing the nothing.
Yeah.
Ooh, it consumes the natural.
Well, that's why it's a nuke.
Oh, it consumes the natural.
Yeah, so Megan, that was Megan.
Megan for the win. Write
Yeah.
that shit down.
So,
Everything takes damage, they have to resist, and they just get fucked.
The Avatar state from the Avatar cartoon. I like that. But so if the effect is the summoning, and you get something, right? Like, I'm bringing you into a place that you can't be, ergo you owe me. I know that blends into Pack Magicka.
It
But
does. You can't have it that way.
Yeah.
Instead, you're thinning the veil. That's how you're doing it. You are not summoning. Pact Magicka is summoning. You're not summoning. What you're doing is you're thinning the veil, and so something chaotic comes in, and what it does is wreck reality.
Yeah.
As such, you can be wrecked.
Yeah.
Everything can be wrecked, and it's within a something. Like, if you wanted to just be, like, shit goes sideways, then shit goes sideways.
Yeah.
Because it seems like you want to nuke, so make it a nuke.
I just like the callback to that moment And
If
there
you want
being
an Akira moment, make it an Akira moment.
no.
Although that is really chaos. But the thing is with entropy, entropy is not chaos. Entropy is in fact order. And this is not destruction. It could lead to destruction. It's not necessarily destruction. Also, if you just say, I nuke it, there's no creativity there. I blow it up. Well, how do you use it? I pop it.
Well, so
You see?
So, what I'm trying to add some nuance here, and I'm getting turned down. So work with me on this.
Hit it.
Also, entropy is the. I understand that it's not the same thing as chaos. It is what will lead to the heat death of the universe. It's the slowing down of things.
Why you gotta be all depressed about it?
So, I don't necessarily want this to be a nuke.
What do you want it to be?
I like the idea of making a controlled effort to bringing something really big and nasty into reality that's not supposed to be in reality, and then using that. So if you want to use it as a nuke, then it's bad for everyone, including you. But if you want to do something smart with it, like bind it to yourself, I think that's cool. I don't think it needs to be two separate powers.
That's packed Magicka, though.
Oh, well, get rid of the deal and everything else. Like, so, because it's not in your. We don't have to make it controlled. Like it.
Well,
really,
Void Gazer, I feel like, would have control over it.
Right. So I guess let's be clear. Which part about it do you think overlaps too much with Pact Magicka?
For Pact Magicka, for a witch is going to say, I'm going to deal with a being of power
Mm-hmm.
and gather something from it. Or make a deal with it to do my bidding.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think, I feel like, or gain some sort of ability that it has, and in return, I'll do something for it.
Yeah. So the binding a piece of this, binding the piece of like a big old astral whale, so that you can have like a shadow form.
Yep. That'd be badass.
Is really cool. But that feels like the same argument could work against that, though, is my point.
Well, I feel like to do that, you'd have to have Void Magicka and Pact Magicka.
And a witch. Yeah. So basically the cool thing that you're geeking out about maybe just needs two forms of Magicka to do.
Yeah.
So let's shelve that. One, I love it, and I want it to be in here.
So maybe all it is weakening the veil so that something can come through.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is.
But why would you do that?
You're a fucking Void Gazer. I don't know. Maybe, okay, so what's the benefit for you? If you're going to go summoning, which I love the alienist, okay?
Yeah.
My epic character is an alienist.
Right.
So make it a fucking alienist. If that's what we're doing, fuck it. Everyone else is screaming, oh no, cursing the powers, gnashing your teeth. Meanwhile, you, wide-eyed, bloodshot, are speaking to this thing.
Yeah.
And getting knowledge, and maybe it'll do something for the fact that you... Maybe that's the overlap. Fuck it. It'll do a thing for you. The thing is, we have to be very clear on what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like this weird, fucked up jellyfish Metroid has so many seconds equated to how many breath you have, or something ridiculous in the real realm. But you gotta be careful, because while it's cool, it's not useful if you're not careful.
That's my concern. That's why I like the idea of it really just being. Let's go back to your idea. Okay. The idea of pulling in something that normally won't fit through the door, and taking out your scissors, cutting off a piece of its tail, and then binding it to yourself for however long. And then you've got like the shadow form you were talking about.
Maybe you're the gateway.
That's really cool. If it goes wrong, then nuke. and it eats reality.
Hmm.
That area.
So, the way that
You remember you were talking about with biomancy, where you have the option of the backlash, the reverse ethos.
mm-hmm.
You know, you can let it out into the world and not take damage, but the reality kind of cracks a little bit. It's like that. You can summon this thing, and if you don't internalize it, then the nothing eats reality. So maybe the nuke is not the goal.
Or maybe it's not nuked, it's just that this reality is switched with that. Which is the same thing as a nuke. The idea of like, think of like Stranger Things, where it's like for this orb of whatever, now it's in the upside down. But we're in the normal. We're in the natural. So it's like, bloop, and it switches places. Because that's really what void gazers are all about. They're about moving through the veil.
Yeah.
And looking through it and pushing people into it and drawing things from it. But there is no tenacity. The only thing that they have that has tenacity or that perseverance is sojourn.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires a ton of their being to do it.
Yeah.
So I think this should be the same idea. I don't think we should, pardon the pun, open the door to being able to just open the door. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's too hard. And I don't think we should have it open the door in the sense of pact Magicka, because that's what pact Magicka does.
Yeah.
Instead, you should be able to get something from it, or change things to it. But I was thinking, is there a way we can, instead of making it just more powerful, is there a way of making it really usable?
That is what we're spinning our wheels on. So if you look at what they can do, because I think that's a good idea, they can listen, they can do tricks, they can bring people to them and go short distances, they can go long distances, push people in, and they can stay out. But and they can send people to other realms. They can banish them. But and then there's the warping hell. But what they haven't been able to do is let things in.
That's true.
And if they can banish people to other realms, then they are piercing the veil.
Yeah.
Like there's a banish doesn't skirt it, it pierces it. They're letting small things in. There's a point where, like, obviously the veil is flawed, but it's not so flawed that the whale gets in. The
Right.
big Metroid doesn't get in, but like
You pull things from the upside down.
yeah.
You're opening away, you're sliding to stand aside as things are affected. Yeah, I mean, she's agreeing.
Yeah.
So you let something in. The question is it under control, and what does it do? I think it's entropy. So it's always, I mean, I want to say destructive, but entropy is not. Entropy is destructive.
Can I tell you what I want out of this?
Do it.
I want, after all these conversations, what I want this to be, as one of the two capstones, is letting a big oh no, a piece of that, opening the way for it. Something it can't do by itself because there's not a big enough flaw in the veil for that. That would be a building on what they can do thus far, and it doesn't involve tenacity. So I want the opening the door, and I want players to read this and go, oh shit, we need a witch in the party. Because, hey, right? And I want them to see that connection of, oh, well, if you have a witch too, then we can work together and make something.
So you're letting the shadow of something. You're letting something's power in.
Yeah.
It can't get in. It's the entropic shadow.
Right.
Totally cool.
All right.
And for that moment, it's gonna go and do what you kind of want. But it's an effect. It's not an intelligence.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you kind of, I mean, you can do time space stuff, right? So you direct the shadow.
Direct the shadow of an ineffable. I should just say ineffable. Effable. As it squeezes through the gateway,
The wound.
the
tear
wound,
in the veil.
the tear in the veil you create for a breath of a moment, for a single breath. This tyrannical power is under your control. Afterwards, oh no. Go.
All right, so I think that this can go. I think the flavor text works better in front.
Sure, do it. You could get two two character traits. Oh no! Oh no! One has an exclamation mark. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
So, okay, makes a conscious decision to wrench a fragment of the sentient ineffable into the natural realm.
Change it as you will.
I want to get rid of. I want to do this. I want to get rid of this. Okay. So. We're doing the wound and reality thing. That's that people liked. You tear a hole in the veil and direct the shadow. Of whatever presence is attracted.
Sure.
Because we've already got the sentient ineffable.
Sure.
And I think I want to give that element of you don't really control it. It's not a summoning. Because you're right about that. Right? Does that work?
Yep, I dig it.
You tear a hole in the veil and direct the shadow of whatever presence is attracted to the lure.
As it squeezes through.
As it squeezes through the wound in reality.
You should get rid of that comma.
What comma?
The one up top with and go up. You tear a hole in the veil.
Oh, whoops. Thank you.
Could be for a brief moment.
I like for a single breath, this tyrannical power is under your control.
And causes calamity and taints the area with lingering entropy. Or just cause them.
Is it under their control though, or is
That's-
it more of like you're creating a funnel that it is sort of like a, you think about a cow moving through the
gate.
the gates to
In the
slaughter.
smaller gates, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you're just funneling it toward a
You could say under your direction
yeah.
as it moves through, or it moves through the gate or whatever.
Guidance, we'll do direction again. Is under your direction. What can it do?
Right now, what it does is it eats reality and poops out entropy.
Mm.
It's a big entropic worm. That's what I'm thinking. Like I'm thinking like that scene in like Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Not Spirited Away. Princess Mononoke, where the Night Stalker, when it touches shit, it just goes down. That's what I'm thinking.
For single breath, this tyrannical power is under your direction before being rejected by reality.
This entropic in energy causes calamity, only causes calamity or something like that. It's just a big boom.
This entropic shadow.
Shadow.
Did you shadow or entity? What did you say?
I said entity, but
Inimical. Causes calamity. Tainting the area with lingering entropy.
yeah, get rid of that. What's another word for entropy? Finality?
It's essentially a form of decay. But
I
like,
mean, it's a vector towards resolution.
that's true too.
So it might be.
I meant decay in the way that like nuclear half-life is decay.
This entropic entity's presence in the natural realm is inimical to the natural order and inevitably causes calamity, tainting the area with lingering entropy.
Lingering, like I'm thinking of like rocks floating in the air and the earth being salted and the ozone layer having a hole in it, so other beings, smaller presences can get through more easily.
See, I don't think of it as destroying. I think it reducing things to their natural course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, granted, I'm thinking of inertia, not entropy. Let me look up just to get a better idea. Entropy, because it might be a simple idea. Degeneration, loss, randomness,
Packet loss. That's why it's multiple things. In terms of, I was thinking more like thermodynamically. Like
Yeah.
it is the idea of moving towards, like you said, moving towards resolution or the base level of an unexcited state.
It's loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this entity's presence in the natural realm is inimical to the natural order and inevitably causes calamity, tainting the area with lingering entropy. I think if we take away entropic here, we can use entropy here.
Okay.
And that makes sense.
Okay.
That's the oh no.
So single breath is being rejected by reality, and
Whew.
without the aid of someone who can control it.
No, I say don't give it to him.
Just
I
don't
say
tell
they-
him.
Nope. Don't tell him. I think someone should look at this and be like, that is a boomstick. Because that's really how it's written. It's, you tear a hole in reality, shit comes in and wrecks everything for a breath, and then it evaporates, but there's lingering destruction.
Do we want to talk about the upside down? Like the world twists, the sky is dark, people
Well-
grow, and plants live.
I think the problem is that we're on a paragraph right now.
Yeah,
Like, we need to be able to say this in so much.
Then we're good, and we need to be done.
Yeah. Okay. Whew, ataxia is another of my favorite words.
That's a
Maybe
good
taints and withers any physical plane that it encounters. Maybe direct suggestion. So, let's keep it as it is thus far. Basically, Entropic Shadow is a big oh no.
Yeah.
And let's
And-
give it a bang.
Until you combine it with
Boom.
the efforts of others.
It is oh no with a bang.
With a bang.
All right, Circle of Phantasms. Let's pop down here. We are here. The Purview of Illusions of Mind Control. I'm going to drop this. Look at the We Are Here up here. Yeah.
Get rid of that one.
Get rid of that one. Boom, boom, boom. Bam. There's Phantasms. Bam, bam. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, so just as a reiteration, next week, next Sunday, we are going to be. What is next Sunday? I don't have my phone. Let's look at the deal just to make sure it's not like some dumb holiday. The 13th. Yeah, we're fine. Okay. Next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, we're going to be on DreadLore YouTube. So jump on there. If you have not, subscribe. Pretty please. And yeah, that's where we'll be doing this shite from now on. On Something Bunkum, we're going to still do discussions. We might talk about gaming. Actually, we will definitely talk about gaming. And as well as a slew of other topics. And do short films and that kind of thing. So, please keep in touch with both. But on Sunday, DreadLore.
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan, for jumping in. Someone else jumped in. I don't know who it was. Thank you for jumping in.
Appreciate it.
And peace.